Yes, good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Joseph. This is the another episode of Yes Youth Entertainment and Success, the conversation series. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we are going to have a very good evening. We have our esteemed guest, Miss Bernice Antoine. Once again, before we start, I like to say that this is a safe environment where we understand that there are topics that we may or may not be well informed about, that we understand that we are learning here. This is not also just a debate. This is not a debate. It's not an argument. It's not a competition to be won. It's simply just a conversation where I, the host, the guest, as well as the viewers yourselves are learning, being inspired, and definitely becoming who we aspire to be. So I'd just like to read our esteemed guest bio before we begin, and I'd like to welcome her. So tonight we have Miss Bernice Antoine. The value of a decision depends upon the courage required to render it. Bernice Antoine has decided to advocate for an empowered Caribbean culture and economy to not just play in the background of the world, but to be the powerhouse of the world. To embody this quote, she has been certified in Caribbean youth advocacy from this USAID community, family and youth resilience program, social entrepreneurship from Amala Education, and is currently pursuing her certification in project management in her gap year. Bernice Antoine has had an early introduction to youth development through her involvement with the Girl Guides Association of Trinidad and Tobago since the age of 6. Being involved in Girl Guides meant her life was filled with mentorship, leadership, and life skill learning. Since then, she has moved up the ranks from Brownie to Ranger Guide, using her guiding journey to propel her into the youth advocacy realm. She recently held a 16 days of activism campaign that was recognized by the World Girl Guides and Girl Scout Associations of Global Advocacy Lead. In 2021, Bernice serves as the Operations Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Advocacy Network. Here, she assesses and updates current procedures, policies to reflect recent development. She also undergoes monthly progress checks, overseeing budget reviews and recommendations to the TTYAN's committees, inclusive of mental health, gender-based violence, and 4 other committees. As the Director of Policy and Advocacy of the Willow Foundation, she chairs the PAA committee. In this portfolio, her team has executed a successful 12 Days of Willow Women campaign and continues to serve in the Willow Foundation grassroots activities. Being nominated as the female co-chair of the Youth Advisory Group of the UNFPA at 19 was another mammoth task that she rose up to. Here, she advocates for sexual and reproductive rights for young persons and consults with the UNFPA to offer the youth perspective on their projects. This capacity has led her to attend regional and national conferences and consultations on the HIV policy, minors' access to SRH, and youth policy. These are moments in one's journeys that change the course of their destiny. For Bernice, it was the historic Caribbean Women in Leadership first all-woman parliamentary sitting. While serving as the Minister of Labour and Enterprise, the principles of transformational leadership was being ingrained into her. From March 8, 2020, this YWIL parliamentarian made it a mandate to implement emotional intelligence, transparency, and accountability in all of her projects. Today, Bernice Antoine continues to join young people in arms as they operate at the forefront of their destinies. As she says, it is time for the Caribbean to rise as architects of the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce and welcome Miss Bernice Antoine.
Hi, great night, everyone.
Hi, good evening, Bernice. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing well. So I have to take a breath from reading that extensive and definitely well written bio. I need to take a sip of my water after reading all of that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So how are you this evening? Tell us how you are coping with COVID-19 right now. How are you dealing?
Well, to be honest, COVID-19 has impacted my mental health. So, I started to take the necessary steps in order to cope effectively. So,
Right,
I would have joined the change agent team with the place I work at, and they really teach
right,
a concept of mindfulness and emotional intelligence. So, that as well as, you know, eating right and exercising regularly, it really has helped me to cope effectively with the pandemic. So, how about you?
Well, definitely haven't been doing those things. I've just been really playing my part and just trying to keep positive on everything. But let's get into it. Tonight is about you. This is the Yes Conversation series, ladies and gentlemen, youth entertainment and success. So we go straight into it, Bernice. How did you get involved in youth leadership slash youth activism?
Okay, great. Well, I mean, you would have read that I would have been involved in the Girl Guides Association of Trinidad and Tobago at the age of 6. And
Definitely.
so, one thing I always appreciate about the Girl Guides is that they allow me to focus on my core and focus on my strengths. And one of the things I realized early in my youth leadership journey or youth advocacy journey is that I like to speak. Um, so they would have given me the opportunity they would have given me the opportunity to actually be nominated to sit on the youth advisory group for the United
Right.
Nations Population Fund. And from there I connected with all these amazing individuals in the youth space. And that's really how I got involved in youth advocacy, definitely Girl Guides. And I continue, I'm proud
Right.
to say that I'm still a Girl Guide at 19 years old.
Right.
And what made me stay so long definitely is the energy of the people involved. Like in youth work, people stay up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock doing proposals, finishing proposals. So that energy, that
Right.
work ethic energy to go out and change lives, that definitely has kept me in youth work. So yeah.
Definitely. So to the person joining live, joining now, this is Miss Bernice Antoine. We are having her here on the Youth Entertainment Success Conversation series. So okay, we understand that you have been a part of the Girl Guide Association for so long, and you have branched off into these many different places where you continue your work as a youth advocate. But what does youth advocacy or youth leadership really mean to you? What does it mean personally on a deeper level?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that youth advocacy is unique to everybody's because it's shaped by everybody's perception. But to me, youth advocacy means challenging the norms. As young persons, we are not conditioned as yet to the normalities of society. So we recognize, something isn't right with that. Something
Right.
about that situation needs to change. And so we have all this energy. I don't want to say we have all this time because I know we have responsibilities, but we commit our time, we commit our energy to changing and impacting the lives. We see something is wrong with the normal and we want to change it. So that's in its core is what youth advocacy to me is challenging the norms and impacting the world, unpacking the real. Another thing that I think that youth leadership means to me is definitely leadership as action. And a lot of people think
Mhm.
leadership automatically means in front, but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you have
Wow.
to lead from behind, you know what I mean? To me, youth leadership means action. It means grassroots, going into communities and impacting persons one by one, you know what I mean? So leadership, taking the action. Sometimes you're gonna have to lead in front because especially when it's uncomfortable work, especially like I know in Girl Guys, when you have to pitch your tent and you have to make your bamboo tripod and you're the push leader for everyone is the leader of the cohort. You
Right.
have to be the first person to start cutting up the bamboo. You have to be the first person kneeling the stuff in the ground, and that's doing the uncomfortable work. So leadership, I always say leadership is action. Sometimes it's leading from in front, but most times it's leading from behind and impacting people's lives. As a leader, or my in the capacities I operate as a leader, it's so rewarding to see that you kind of inspired somebody to do this, to do this, to do that. And then it's come back and say, oh, like I saw you doing this and I really got inspired to do that. So yeah, definitely that what youth leadership means to do. Youth advocacy, challenging the norm, youth leadership, doing the work, doing the uncomfortable work. Yeah.
Definitely. So just by that response, I know we're going to have a very extensive conversation. I hope you have your water. If anybody home by you has, we could bring water for you. I shouted them out because I saw that they joined. So I just giving them a little hint to bring some water for you because we're going to have a nice conversation. All right, before we continue with the questions that I have, your education. How has your education, let's say, facilitated or even, let's say, empowered you to continue this drive, this passion for youth advocacy?
Definitely, what I see a lot of young youth advocates, especially struggling with now, is balancing youth advocacy and youth work. But I would say
Mm,
definitely integrate the two. Um,
okay.
so in terms of course, you have to be because you're only in secondary school for a limited time. So I always made sure to make sure that my grades wasn't suffering. But there are ways that you could do to impact or empower your grades using your advocacy. So, for example, like I was with the United Nations Population Fund learning about sexual and reproductive health rights, and so that kind of
Mm,
expanded my territory. So I was doing my,
right.
and when everybody was doing like disadvantages of sports, I was like, should sex ed be in school? Should this happen? Should that happen? Um, and definitely using the skills that I learned in the youth advocacy realm. So it was actually in youth work that I learned how to do minutes. I learned how to share a meeting. I learned how to, this is how you do up a proposal. And I used the skills that I gained in youth advocacy and doing the youth work, and I implemented it in schools. So I viewed it as a relationship rather than a hindrance.
Wow, I really like that term. You use it as a relationship as opposed to hinges. That's really good. Good night to those persons shouting you out. Everybody, I see some people selling some shouts. So in the classroom, in your time in your secondary school journey, did you see yourself being able to practice the things that you learned from Girl Guides definitely straight into the classroom and definitely the skills that you attained from youth advocacy in the classroom, or was it a situation where you had to allow the other leaders in the classroom to play their role?
Hmm. And I would definitely say a big part of leadership is teamwork. So, of course,
Mm,
there were several opportunities. I don't want to say I allowed them, as in all the power is mine. I definitely think seeing people persons shine as well, that is leadership as well. But I would say if the question is asking me, how did I use my Girl Guides experience as well as youth leadership in the classroom, definitely tackling certain conversations, because when you're in an all girls school, certain conversations come up, and because I'm educated on certain things like HIV, sexual and reproductive health, etc., etc., a lot of people turn to their peers for information, and so I was able to guide them to the correct sources instead of me being the source of all information and say, y'all do this, don't do that. I was like, you could actually go to this website, they have this resource, did you know that this has happened, etc., etc.
right.
In terms of Girl Guides motto, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. And that's something I always implement. Even for this interview, I was preparing an hour before, and that's something I will carry on to the end of my days. For all the presentations, be prepared. For my SPA, be prepared. For when it's time to set up in class, etc., etc., I was very meticulous in my work. Like, I printed off my syllabus. I said, okay, I learned this today in class, etc., highlighted, etc. So those are some of the skills that I learned in Girl Guides that I implemented directly into the classroom.
Right. So I just have a question before we continue. Are you hearing me clearly? Because you really just started well. You really just started the call, so I'm not sure. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
All right. Good. So great. So I really like that the be prepared the motto of course the Global Guys Association. So we're gonna get back into it. So I would like you to tell us about the organizations that you are part of. So we're gonna start with the Advisory Group of the UNFPA. What is the UNFPA by chance?
Okay, so the UNFP is United Nations Population Fund, and they recognize that I believe the statistics is either 30 to 40%. 40% of our population is young persons, and so they brought on young persons to give a voice to the youth. So it's Youth Advisory Group. We advise the United Nations Population Fund on initiatives related to young persons. So sometimes, most times, that looks like consultations. So recently we held a consultation on the Universal Periodic Report, which is held it's held a few years in between. Um, Basically, that what that is when Trinidad and Tobago and other countries sign on to certain UN conventions, the UN kind of follows up on them. Like, are you all getting through with that convention? So we give our youth perspective. These are the challenges that young persons are facing. Besides that, we also focus on sexual and reproductive health. So during my capacity in that group, we would have come up or developed an app called Youth Connect, which provides sexual and reproductive health for young persons. It's still on the App Store if you would like to check that out. But so it's really about advising the UNFPA on youth initiatives and things related to youth, because I always say that young persons are the experts of their own experiences. You can't plan anything for us without us. So commendable to the UNFPA for implementing this initiative, and thus far it has been so phenomenal.
Right. So I mean that really says a lot. And we're gonna continue right straight into the tell us about the Willow Foundation and your role as the director of policy and advocacy.
So the Willow Foundation is a grassroots charity-based organization. When I think about the Willow Foundation, I think about energy. We have so much passion and energy to impact people's lives, and we're not only about national or regional initiatives. We are really about focusing on our community and impacting our membership, and by impacting our membership, impacting beyond our membership. So, I would have come onto the Willow Foundation as actually was started and launched in January the 21st. But since that launch, we have done so many things. We did a beach cleanup. We had a Willow Women's campaign. We have 12 days of Willow Women. So basically, in my capacity as the policy and advocacy, I would be the chair of the PA committee, which is the Policy and Advocacy Committee, and just implement initiatives related to advocacy. So what I would look like is, so like recently we had a games night because we wanted to focus on the good health and well-being for this month. So we had a games night, we had a burnout, etc. And just working with that team, it has been so dynamic, it has been so amazing. When I think about Willow, I just get all warm inside, honestly. But yeah, that's the Willow Foundation.
Ladies and gentlemen, you all are here, and a multiplicity of activities that this Miss Bernice Antoine is a part of. So this is the Yes Conversation series, the Youth Entertainment and Success. We're going to continue right along to tell us about your role as Deputy Operations Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Advocacy Network. Because what I understand, it's just not just, but it's like a culmination of all the advocacy networks. Is it? Just tell us some more about it for those persons that may not be aware.
Okay, no problem. So it's the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Advocacy Network. We are an independent organization, so it's not a network of other organizations, but we do network with other organizations. So we do collaborate with other organizations. Actually, on yesterday, I was appointed as the operations officer, but my responsibilities still remain similar. So there, as the name would suggest, we do a lot of advocating. How the organization is kind of made up is made up of 6 committees. So we have gender-based violence, mental health, charity, social engagement club, and environmental club, and human rights. So we tackle different issues within that arena. And my role as the operations officer is just to ensure that the committee heads are well supported to perform their responsibilities to undergo any campaigns. So for example, when we have like World Polar Bear Day and World Down Syndrome Day, when they plan those projects, I would help support them in a technical aspect in terms of, this proposal, etc., etc. Maybe if you try this, etc., etc. And I also do performance reviews in terms of recommending, okay, well, next time, maybe if you want to have a larger reach, maybe you could focus on this platform instead of that platform. So that's definitely what the work of the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Advocacy Network has been doing. Another organization that has been doing amazing work within Trinidad and Tobago. We recently held a short writing competition, stories, that was so successful to the essay students. So yeah, First of all, if anyone is on this live from any of this organization, big up to Olia, big up the other foundation, big up to Transvega Youth Advocacy Network, and the Youth Advisory Group of the United Nations Population Fund.
Definitely, definitely. As well as you are a 2020 YWIL parliamentarian. And what I understand is where there was an all female sitting of parliament. So tell us about that experience.
Okay, that was a phenomenal experience that really pivoted my perspective, pivoted my life. So in 2020, March 2020, the Caribbean Women in Leadership held a seminar in collaboration with PAL Americas to facilitate this first all-female parliamentary sitting where we debated a motion of can't remember the exact motion, but yeah. So, but what I did remember is one, the amazing individuals I met on our platform, and two, the principles of transformation leadership. I do believe that I spoke about it in the bio, but that experience was so phenomenal. Of course, we're sensitized in terms of like gender-based violence and gender, but we also talked about leadership and women in leadership, especially, you know. So that experience has been phenomenal. Some of the things we learned there was like transformational leadership, which is basically leadership that transform a social environment, leadership that, and to me personally, means transforming your leadership style to suit each individual, because we are all unique, and sometimes you just need this one prefers direct mentorship, and this one, okay, just come back and check me. If I need help, you could call me, etc.
Yeah.
You change organizations by changing lives, you know? And so that's something that I would always take with me, transformational leadership, and just having a phenomenal network of women that supports and motivates each other. That's really amazing, and that's what I enjoy the most from my young women in leadership experience.
Wow. So, how did that venture come about? What caused that to come? Because an all woman sitting on parliament is definitely amazing, and it definitely shows the progress that we are attaining in Trinidad and Tobago. But how did it come about?
Okay, so definitely we are making steps towards, you know, closing the gender gap in terms of gender priority. So that came about as a result of recognizing that we need more women in leadership. Leadership needs to be diverse leadership. The population is 50% women, 50% men. So we need the highest level of decision making to represent that. And so in order to kind of facilitate that change, that little snowball that rolls into a bigger snowball, we needed to have pique the interest of young women to sit in parliament, to experience parliamentarian life. So that came about as a result of the lack of women being present in positions in parliament. So yeah, that was a
So,
main motive.
I wa-
Encouraging.
I wanna take a fork a little bit and maybe ask you a quote unquote controversial question. You know, let's shake things up a little bit. So is it that it was different to the youth parliament that I know that they have, the second of youth parliament? It's definitely different, but is the ultimate goal the same?
I would definitely say the first question you asked me is if it's different, if the young women in leadership sitting was different from the
Youth
um
parliament, yeah. So
well,
I know it was different, but is the motive or the outcome the same? Yeah. Is that is I know the process is different, but is the outcome the same?
mhm. So I would say that of course it was different in terms of, I'm not too familiar. I'm familiar with the actual sitting of the parliamentary, but I'm assuming that they have some training before. So if in that regard, like they had that training before, I believe they do, then it wasn't too different with the young women in leadership parliamentary sitting and the youth parliament.
Youth
They
parliament.
were done in conjunction with the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm assuming that it's not too different. But in terms of the motive, I definitely believe that the motive is the same, because to the young women in leadership parliamentary setting, they focus on women between 18 and 25. And I'm assuming they have a similar age group for the youth parliament,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
focusing on young persons. So I would say that the motive would be the same. Just with the Young Women Leadership Parliament, it focused specifically on young women, as compared to the Youth Leadership and Parliament, Parliament, it focused on young persons and exposing young persons to that experience.
Right. Definitely. So just tell me, I noticed that you really do and it's looking and it's something, you know, so just tell me if I need to speak of everything. Um, but tell us, how do you feel in Trinidad and Tobago, if you let us focus on everything, what do you really need to be done to ensure that the difference or the gap is lessened and that women I personally believe that it's almost shared let me get some paper. So I believe that the gap is not as drastic as it needs to be, but what really should be done to close the gap even more instead of that and Tobago.
Okay, no problem. And that is true. The gap, as compared to the first parliamentary sitting in Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah,
we definitely have
absolutely.
more women represented now. Um, but we're looking for 50-50, that gender parity to ensure that all different segments of society is represented at the highest level of decision making. What I That is a phenomenal question. Okay, and I'll try not to spend too long on it, but
No
I
problem, no
definitely think
problem.
we have to put young persons on the agenda. Young persons, as I mentioned before, we recognize that we challenge the norms. We recognize that something isn't okay, and we're the ones to speak out. So the first thing is put young persons on the agenda. The second is develop the mechanisms so that we can hold our figures in authority accountable, because a lot of times they're saying, yeah, sure, of course, you would be invited to this meeting. Yes, you would sit down and we'll have this great thing outlined. But then when it's time to come down to the actual work,
Mm,
there's no progress. There's no, oh, how was that going? There's no that, because there isn't any formal mechanism being put into place. So I would, after I say put young persons on the agenda, is ensure that we have an accountability mechanism to ensure that initiatives are implemented and initiatives are sustainable. The third thing I would say is that I keep seeing it and I keep seeing it and I can keep seeing it, which is continuity of effort is collective. The phrase I
She's just reconnecting. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think she's connecting, but we won't stay and just have this awkward moment of silence. So this is again the Youth Entertainment Success Conversation Series. Tonight we are having Miss Bernice Antoine. She's having a little trouble right now, but no worries, she'll be back soon. Definitely, of course, we like to encourage any and all persons to share the live. This is right, so she's gonna have to join back. Definitely we encourage all persons to share the live. We are talking with Miss Bernice Antoine. We're gonna have her back on very soon. She's gonna request to come back on. My name is Emmanuel Joseph, and the purpose of this is so that we, the youth, can inspire each other. We can learn from each other. We can definitely take something away, especially during this COVID-19 period, where our motivation levels may not be where we need it to be, where we may be feeling down, we may be feeling depressed. So we just learning from each other's experiences, being able to speak with each other, not just look at these figures who are so distant from us, these older persons that may not be experiencing the same thing that we are experiencing. So the Youth Entertainment Success Series is definitely just for us to engage with each other and be able to learn from each other. So we're gonna have Miss Bernice Antoine back on, and she's gonna come on very soon. Yes.
Hi, are you seeing me?
yes, you're back on. That's no problem. You understand what happened. There's no problem. So you were telling us about the gap closing it. Yeah.
So I would definitely say we have to be collective. We have to have a unity of purpose, continuity of effort. We have to, as young persons, unify as to what exactly we want, and then second, commit to that goal as a community. Because a lot of times, initiatives that we come up with is unsustainable because we tend to have, I guess, shiny object syndrome, as in, oh, this new thing came out, let's focus on that. Oh, that new thing came out. So as young persons as well, I know I spoke to those in authority, but I am speaking to young persons now. We need to have a unity of purpose. Let's come together as collective and decide as a community what's best for us and what we want to see, because we are not only the future, we are those influencing today. So yes, I know a lot of people say young person is the future, but we are not the future. We are infected. We are affected by issues today, and we have a right to change issues today. Sorry to get all passions about that, but just to reiterate my 3 points. The first one is put young persons on the agenda. The second one is develop mechanisms to hold our leaders accountable. And the third one is unity of purpose and continuity of effort. Yeah, that's me.
Definitely. And I mean, you have me really thinking that this is definitely a way to move in order that youth, women, and young persons in general can definitely make an impact. Um, and I really hope that this reaches somebody that this reaches the relevant authorities, that they will be able to see it. But even if not, we have the facilities, as you just mentioned, the wealth of organizations that we are part of. I really hope that they too continue to do their work and strive to do better in our communities. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I remember you said collective unity. Um, is there an understanding that there's not only empowering young persons, but teaching them as well? Because some young persons that definitely don't know their power, they don't know that they can do certain things. So I definitely believe the advocacy networks and the youth organizations are educating. But what do you think, Bernice Antoine, we should educate them about?
Mm-hmm.
Because one can say it's definitely a holistic development that they need, where they need to work on their, well, not their, our, because we are all youth, both of us are youth. We need to work on our social skills, our goals, our aspirations, our discipline as well. So what do you think the youth in Trinidad and Tobago should be educated on, so that we can achieve the goals that we set for ourselves?
Mm-hmm. What young persons need to be educated about is that they need to be educated about their power, and they don't have to wait for permission to change or
Mm,
impact. Young persons in the 1950s and the 1960s, young persons were leading movements and they got change.
definitely.
Young persons today, we have the power. And so I think we definitely have to, we have the power, we have the power, we have the power. We don't have to wait on permission. We create our own rules. Okay, that's even might be a bit controversial, but we have the power to see the impact that we want to enact the impact that we want to have. And
Wow.
and through that entire process, what I'm seeing in the youth space right now is that young persons, yes, there's been focus on developing our technical skills, so accounting, finance, human resource, but there isn't an equivalent increase in our soft skills, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, mental health, um,
Wow.
emotional well-being. And I definitely see that is where youth organizations could come in and fill in that gap. So yes, we have a responsibility, but we also have a right. With a right, we have a responsibility. Um, so it's just reminding young persons that they have the power and they don't need permission from anyone to impact and to start seeing the change that they want to see. So that if I had one message to say to young persons, that would be that. As start today. Don't wait for something to happen. Start from where you are with what you have. Yes, you, as in your social media platform. If you have an issue that you're passionate about, speak out. You have social media literally in the palms of your hands. Speak out. Say something about it. Invite your members. Send a Zoom link. Invite people. Invite people to talk about it, and start making the change that you want to see. Start talking to your principal. Hi, can I do this session in school today? Hi, can I? Start your community leaders. If you have, well, not now, but
Definitely.
community centers. Start organizing. Start the resources that you have. If you have a big backyard, of course not now, people. Of course not now, but start using the resources that you have right now. We have our parents, we have our grandparents. Start using them. I always say that our grandparents have a library of knowledge, they have a library of wisdom. Use the resources that you have right now. I know you're thinking, I don't have anything, but start looking, what do I have? Even if it's a pen and paper, write it out, post it, start with yourself as well. Because that's another message I have to start with, say to young persons, start with yourself as well. A lot of times, especially when in a youth space and you're advocating about certain issues, people see you as a reference point in terms of to talk to you about certain issues. So, for example, how I'm involved in sexual and reproductive health. And this is the part of the uncomfortable work of youth advocacy, because I always have to be attending webinars, attending seminars, attending meetings to ensure that I'm informed, so that when I am well equipped, so that when somebody asks me a question about sex and reproductive health rights, you know, I even though I don't have the
you are prepared to answer.
even though I don't have the entire knowledge or the entire picture, I can say, well, you know, this organization is a fantastic resource. If you want, I know this person, I could connect you, etc., etc. So I definitely would say, I know I'm saying a lot of messages, but you have the power. You don't need permission to do anything. You have the resources. Start from where you are with what you have, as well as work on yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. So yes.
Wow. I mean, it's just fire after the next, just fire, just sitting well bad, but it's definitely a personal and important and pivotal, definitely important message that you are saying right now. So knowing that you are giving out messages, I'd like to know, are there any pieces of advice, any messages that you were given that and as somebody in the field that you consider a mentor, or anyone that you have had on your journey that has given you a piece of advice that has stayed with you? Not the quote I'm talking about, but any piece of advice that has impacted you and helped you on your journey.
I would definitely have a piece of advice, and this comes from a story. So
Okay.
when I was in Form 6 and Upper 6, I was nominated for Head Girl. And my immediate thought was, Head Girl? Like, I was literally thinking, what do they see in me to nominate me as Head Girl? Because all the previous Head Girls, they were like quiet and like etc., etc. Not shy, but just quiet. And I was like, I am not quiet. So I was like, I can't be Head Girl because I'm not quiet. And so I went into the interview, because you had to interview with that energy. I went in thinking that I wasn't good enough. And then I in conversation, I mentioned it to my English teacher. And she said, don't you ever let somebody put you into a box. And I was like, wow. I mean, that simple advice, it was so profound to me. I could be Head Girl and I could be boisterous. I don't have to fit any person's mold of what I have to be. Being authentic is your superpower. You know, yes, I'm a youth advocate, but I love to sing, I love to dance, I love to camp. I could pitch a tent. I would love to do a bamboo tripod right now. You know? So don't fit into any mold of what anybody think that you should be. You know, you get to define what youth advocacy means to you, and you get to live your truth. So it would definitely say, don't allow anyone to put you into a box. Live your truth and be authentic to what you know is right. So yeah, that would be my.
I feel like I wanna be. I feel like it breaks in from mentioning the school. You can big up your school, you know. No problem, you know. You can big up your school.
I'm big the best school in Trinidad and Tobago right now. Big up all my Hilarion sisters. Bishop Ansi High School. Big up.
Definitely, I feel like it was breaks in from it, but I mean that just speaks to the wealth of experience that we can learn from our mentors and those that we seek advice from, you know. So that experience, how were you faced with that experience again, and were you able to use that advice to help you in a different experience?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
um,
definitely.
being in the space that I am in, I get a lot of, or I'm open to a lot of opportunities, etc. And my first thought is that, I don't think they're looking for me. Maybe not me, etc.,
Mm.
etc. And even I was nominated actually in the position as a female co-chair for the youth advisory group. I was nominated by, or selected rather, by Kimberly Gilbert and Nicolai Edwards. And so the fact that they saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself as yet, it was like, am I sleeping on myself? You know? So I had to make a paradigm shift when I was looking at certain opportunities. Let me see if I could think of a specific example of how I use that advice.
But why do you
I
think? I
guess.
just wanna,
Mhm.
I just wanna say, but I think that is a problem that a few people have where we know that we are probably gifted in something, but we don't want to push ourselves in front all the time. Or sometimes you might want to dress back to allow other persons to have their chance. I really think it's a personal dilemma that a lot of people face where they don't want to seem too pushy or too out in front all the time. It's definitely something I have battled with. Trying not to be too in front or too in anyone's face, but still trying to do my best and use the talents that I have available to me. Is that a similar situation that you face?
Um, Once upon a time, I faced it, especially like prior to receiving that advice. But it
Okay.
was something I was listening to, and it said that you gain nothing from playing it safe. Pick up some answer that
Wow.
you gain nothing from playing it safe. Somebody in the world needs you to say a certain thing at a certain time to pivot their lives. And by you playing it safe, you're
Definitely.
robbing that person of that opportunity to literally change their lives. For example, if my
Wow.
teacher didn't say that to me, if she was saying, I should just give her generic advice or don't worry about it, your interview will be good. But
Right.
instead, she chose to speak her truth. She chose to speak her truth and gave me that advice, and that pivoted my life. So I would say you gain nothing from pivot. You gain nothing from playing it safe. You gain nothing from hiding your message.
Wow.
God gave you that message to share. And a certain persons or multiple persons even, they need that message from you. They need that message from your character, you know? Um, so that's definitely I would have faced that situation a long time
Situation.
thinking, oh well,
Yeah.
this is a good opportunity for him because etc etc. But you always have there's a thin line between like I guess humility and bragging etc. Because you
Yeah.
want to be confident but you don't want to be arrogant. So that's also a line that
Definitely.
you have to tread carefully as well, you know.
Definitely. That's
Um,
very true.
but live in your purpose, live in your truth, be authentic to yourself, and you gain nothing from playing it safe. You know, be
Right.
bold. I know we're not going into my career. Yeah.
There is no problem. I like to know who or what are your inspirations. Now you mentioned definitely a lot of people, but who do you seek inspiration from? Who or what are your go-to places for motivation, and that really gives you the drive and revitalizes you when you are probably in down spaces, you're feeling down about what you're doing. Who do you look to for inspiration?
That's a really great question because I definitely believe that you are the sum of the five persons that you line the most with. Um, and I line a lot with podcasts. Podcasts and like YouTube and motivational videos, etc. So I would definitely say on like an international global level, definitely
Okay.
Oprah, Beyonce, Maya Angelou. She was so dear to me. And but locally, well,
Mhm.
regionally as well, Mia Motley,
Yeah.
the Honorable Mia
Ah,
Motley,
yes, definitely.
Angeli Lloyd, which is actually the chairwoman of the company that I work with, um,
Okay.
as well as just my friends and persons in the youth space as well. I would also say Karina Nanan has been such a help to me. She was there with me at one of my darkest times.
Okay.
Um, and I know she's always open arms for me, so that's something I would always appreciate. So those are my inspirations, and it's not necessarily the success that they have now. I'm talking about in terms of Oprah and Beyonce and etc. It's not
Right.
necessarily the success that they have now, but rather their story. Like
Wow.
Oprah, Maya Angelou, like where they came from
Definitely.
to where they are now, that motivates me, not their success that they have currently. That story, it says wow, it's literally if they can do it, I can do it too. And I think a lot of persons, like sometimes you don't even know that you're unknowingly inspiring people. So like when somebody messages me and says like you're such an inspiration, I'm like, what did I do?
Definitely.
But I am living my truths. I am, oh, I try my best to live my truths. I
Right.
put out my messages, etc., in case somebody needs to hear it. Of course, I get my little tease from my siblings once in a while, but I guess it's rewarding when someone says that you're an inspiration, and these are my inspirations.
Right. I mean, and that is very important to have persons that will look for advice because personally, I really feel that a lot of the youth in Trinidad and Tobago, we may have not the best inspiration sometimes. Um, and I really believe it's really important that each and every person find that mentor or that source of inspiration to keep us aligned with the goals that we set for ourselves. So I like to know what quote that has impacted you, stayed with you, more probably even molded you into the person that you are now and the person that you hope to become. Let's say the quote and expound on it as you please.
Okay, no problem. Be bold in your pursuit of excellence. And that was a quote that I actually made up. I was just thinking one day,
Wow.
meditating.
All right, let's go. Before we continue, type it and I'll pin it for you. Type it and I'll pin it in the chat for you. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Youth Entertainment and Success Conversation series. We are on live with Miss Bernice Antoine. She's gonna leave a quote with us, and we're gonna have it. Yes, I don't see it here. Nice. And just pin it. Nice. Be bold in your pursuit of excellence. So yes, tell us about that quote.
So it speaks about being confident. Oh, yes. So it speaks
You
about,
there? Yeah.
yeah. It speaks about being confident, and I keep saying in your truth, in your truth, in your truth, because one of the things I wanted to emphasize always is the fact that my excellence might look different from your excellence, but whatever your desired excellence is, you be bold in that. You take the necessary, you know what you have to do in order to reach that goal. You take the necessary steps. So be bold when you're taking the steps. Stamp when you're taking them steps, you know what I mean? And it came from my English teacher. It came from my confidence. It came from listening to different quotes, and I said, okay, this is what I am thinking. Be bold in your pursuit of excellence. When somebody thinks, okay, this is a really nice opportunity for Bernice, instead of talking down yourself, yes, this is a really good opportunity for me. I have this skill, I have that skill, I have this skill, and this is how it's going to play into my 5-year plan, my 10-year plan. Be bold in your pursuit of excellence. When you're having that troubles, when you're having that trouble, that would come because, of course, youth leadership and youth advocacy comes with its troubles. You be bold, you persevere, So it talks about having confidence, and it talks about having the hard work to back up that confidence as well. And you deciding what is your excellence. My excellence can be your excellence, and your excellence can be my excellence. So whatever excellence that you choose, you be bold. You outline the necessary steps that you have to take, outline the necessary steps, and you take them steps. You take them steps, you know what I mean? Be bold in it. So
Definitely.
that's where that whole came up from.
Wow, I really like that quote, and they said that it's your own quote that you made up.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, wow. Now, we coming down to the end of it. And this is a question I like to ask you guys. What part of Trinbago culture that you are most passionate about, and tell us why? Because of course,
Great.
as you live in Trinidad and Tobago, we need to be passionate and patriotic of our own stuff, definitely. So, what part of Trinbago culture are you passionate about the most?
I would definitely say I want to say good vibes, but I would say our connections and our community.
Okay.
So for example, like if I go away, I know for sure if I bounce up a Trini, they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
oi. Like you automatically get that connection without even us realizing. If we had probably bounced up in Trinidad, it would have been a different story. But the fact that we have the resilience when we go outside, and I see
Right.
Trinidad people have a sense of resilience as well. However, we cope with it in a different way. So, like, for example, when Carnival got cancelled this year, we cope with it in our
Mhm.
own different way. I mean, yeah, we
Yeah.
demonstrated resilience, but we did it in a different way. We are a vibes culture, so yeah, we'll post a little meme about it and tweet it, but it's still us being resilient, and it's still us
Yeah.
being connected as a community. Trinidad people, Trinidadians and Tobagoans as well,
I
they
know where I
always
say don't leave
emphasize
out Tobago.
community and connection, you know.
Yeah.
The fact that I could go over by my grandmother and, you know, she always have some food for me, etc. And it's the same thing, like when my relatives come over here, they always have a food for me. So
Mhm.
definitely that has been something that stood out to me in our culture, especially when being exposed to different cultures away. That's
Yeah.
something I definitely enjoy and appreciate about my culture.
I definitely like that. I like how you said like especially when we go away because I've experienced that when you go away and you're just looking for a flag or a word, a color, you know, that diasporic connection is definitely there. And I really hope that because I know exactly what you're talking what you're talking about where you know we have this communal kind of vibes is where you know you can go anywhere you'll be meeting with hospitality and I really hope that the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't you know reduce that or eliminate it because you know everybody a little bit cautious about who you're getting too close to and that kind of thing you know but we're wrapping up so I would like you so just revitalize, reiterate the groups that you are part of, shout them out, and definitely close off with that definitely with that profound quote of yours. So let's wrap up and just tell us about you, Bernice, and wrap up with that quote of yours.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, first of all, big up the Willow Foundation, big up Toya, big up the Toronto Youth Advocacy Network, and big
Yeah.
up the Youth Advisory Group of the United Nations Population Fund, and the nearest and dearest, of course, given that I was in it since I was 6 years old, the Girl Guides Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And
Definitely.
my closing messages, be bold in your pursuit of excellence.
Yeah.
So once again, I just
Definitely.
want to thank you so much for having me on your platform. I really appreciate this engaging conversations.
Yeah.
You know, you had your little curveball questions, your engaging questions, but all questions I enjoyed. I hope our audience
Yeah.
enjoyed as well. I don't know if
Definitely.
it's open to a question and answer segment, but if not, that's
Yes.
okay as well.
No, definitely. So
So
we can
grateful to
definitely.
everything that the platform that you provide for me, and I hope that you all took away in this interview any piece of message. You know, I'm super grateful for your time as well.
Definitely, and thank you for saying yes to the yes, for joining and being a part of it. So I definitely like the idea of the questions. If anyone on the live has any questions for Miss Bernice Antoine, definitely send your question. So Bernice, we just you know wait until those questions come to tell us what is your view on the carnival, the possibility of carnival next year? Because I waited for a carnival that I really I need one. I really need my panorama. That is what I need. I need panorama. But what are you looking forward to after the COVID-19 pandemic?
What am I looking forward to after the pandemic? I
Mm-hmm.
would definitely say exploring different parts of Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and
Uh,
Tobago is so beautiful. And I'm not just talking about our
definitely.
beaches. I'm once again talking about our community. I want to
Yeah.
go Togo. I want to go Labre. I want to go. Of course, when everyone is safe and it's safe to go outside, I really want to
Definitely.
explore more about our culture and the microcultures that developed in our culture. So that's
Very
definitely
true.
something I'm looking forward to, as well as I know everyone is tired of the virtual world and the Zoom meetings. So I'm also looking forward to having real life meetings and
Yeah.
really valuing that engagement, that face to face engagement with other people. So yeah.
I I definitely, you know, I appreciate so much the small conversations that we have in person more. I appreciate them even more in person. And as I think the camera, I just want to say, you know, it's really an inspiration to speak with young women such as yourself. You know, we sometimes say that the Trinbagonian youth are not doing anything. We are often labeled as, you know, castaways but you are some of the proof that we are definitely doing good. We are doing well. We are doing great things. And of course, commendations and applause to you and especially encouragement for you to continue doing what you are doing. So thank you very much, Ms. Bernice Antoine. I'd like to wish you a very good night and all the best in your future endeavors. And to all the persons on the live, be bold in your pursuit of excellence. Thanks very much for having. Thanks very much for coming, Ms. Bernice Antoine. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy your night, everyone. Have a great night.
All right, so I'll invite you to jump off the call.
Excuse?
Yeah. I'll just invite you to exit. Yeah?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Just yeah, get through.
okay.
Just press the X. Yeah, right. Nice. So definitely thank you, Miss Bernice Antoine. Shout out to all the groups that you mentioned. The Willow Foundation, the Advocacy Network, the Youth Advisory Committee, as well as the Group Guys Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, I like to end off the live with a piece entitled Cassian.